Hello and welcome to the FarmHouse. I'm Stephanie Spiker.
And I'm Candace Wierzbowski.
And this is a special episode of the FarmHouse because we recorded it as part of a live show at the Pennsylvania Farm Show.
We were given the amazing opportunity to conduct a live interview with two veterinarians as part of the Farm Show's Celebrate Women Powering Agriculture event. It was a series of conversations and demonstrations, all celebrating the women who are out there working in ag and changing the field.
And we got to be a part of it. Around noon, we put aside our Farm Show milkshakes and fried cheese cubes and sat down with Dr. Erin Luley and Dr. Hayley Springer to talk about what it's like to work as livestock veterinarians, a field that happens to be male-dominated.
Dr. Luley is the Assistant Director of the PA Department of Ag's Bureau of Animal Health and Diagnostic Services. Before coming to the Department of Ag, she spent several years in private practice and became board certified in veterinary anatomic pathology. She's also worked at the Penn State Animal Diagnostic Lab and has a master's degree in public health.
Dr. Springer is the Bureau of Animal Health and Diagnostic Services Region 5 Veterinary Medical Field Officer. She has spent time in private practice and as an on-staff vet for a dairy operation. She's also served as a Penn State Extension veterinarian, assistant and associate clinical professor, and has earned a PhD in pathobiology.
Both are very accomplished women, and it was an honor to sit down with them on the stage in the small arena at the farm show and chat about their experiences. We hope you enjoy it as much as we did.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of The FarmHouse, a podcast by Lancaster Farming. I'm Stephanie Spiker.
And I'm Candace Wierzbowski.
And today we are recording an interview live here from the Pennsylvania Farm Show.
Today we'll be talking to two veterinarians. The first is Dr. Erin Luley, who is the Assistant Director of the PA Department of Ag's Bureau of Animal Health and Diagnostic Services. Welcome, Dr. Luley.
Thanks for having me today.
And our second guest is Dr. Hayley Springer, who is a veterinary medical field officer for the Bureau of Animal Health and Diagnostic Services. Welcome, Dr. Springer.
Thank you.
So to start off, could each of you briefly introduce yourself and explain what you do as a state veterinarian? Dr. Springer, since you have the mic, do you want to start first?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Hayley Springer. I am a regional veterinary medical field officer. So I serve 10 counties in kind of south central Pennsylvania. And my role is very hands-on. I get to be on farms and working with vets a good bit to make sure that we are managing livestock across the state in a way that will help prevent disease. We respond to any concerns in terms of disease, and we make sure our veterinarians have the supplies that they need. And so that's a big part of my role, and it's been fun to kind of come full circle, and I have gotten to serve Pennsylvania agriculture in many different ways as a private practice veterinarian, on staff at a single dairy, and then through Penn State Extension. And so now I get to serve in a different way and in a different role.
Great. How about you, Dr. Luley?
So to follow on Dr. Springer, I've had the opportunity to serve Pennsylvania agriculture in various ways. My current role is that I'm the Assistant State Veterinarian here in the Department of Agriculture. Along with State Veterinarian Dr. Alex Hamburg, we're responsible for developing and carrying out programs to protect Pennsylvania poultry and livestock from various disease concerns and to respond to any animal health emergencies, as well as to promote and support Pennsylvania animal agriculture. We also have a very important public health role, as many of these diseases that impact our livestock and poultry potentially have the ability to cause disease in humans or potentially have the ability to impact food supply and security. So we have a very important role. I can't do my job without folks like Dr. Springer and her counterparts that are our boots on the ground. So my job is more office-based, managing a team, but I really enjoy getting to do some hands-on stuff here and there. I love agricultural animals. I've been a veterinarian for over 10 years now. I've had the opportunity to work in our state diagnostic lab system as well as some private practice roles before starting my position here with the Department of Agriculture.
So what inspired each of you to become a veterinarian?
So as long as I can remember, that's all I've wanted to do ever since I was in elementary school. I remember talking with my high school guidance counselor at some point after graduating from college, and he said how exciting it is to see a young person at the time who has been able to pursue a dream that they've always wanted to do. So I can't remember ever wanting to be anything other than a veterinarian. The parts of the job that appeal to me, working with animals, but also getting to support farmers, being able to have a broader impact in terms of supplying food, keeping pets, livestock healthy. It's a great profession, and I would never want to do anything else.
My story is not all that much different. I actually had my first grade teacher ask me if I still wanted to be a vet when I graduated from high school. And yes, I still wanted to be a vet then, and I went on to follow that dream. I think the biggest thing that's changed in my dream of being a vet is that I never saw myself working in agriculture. I touched a dairy cow for the first time at the age of 17. And I absolutely fell in love, and I've been involved in animal ag ever since. And so for me, it is the animals. I mean, that's what ultimately drew me to vet med, but I do think the role that we play in human health is also really important, both in terms of providing food, preventing disease, and when it comes to our small animals, also that human-animal bond is really important. So I think I've learned more and more the value not only to the animal but to the people of veterinary medicine, and that's been a big part of why I like what I do.
Well, interestingly, the majority of veterinary professionals, about 2/3, are women, according to the American Veterinary Medical Association. However, also according to the association, when it comes to livestock vets, that number is vastly different. It's actually majority are men. So what do you think accounts for these numbers? If we are getting women into veterinary practice, why are so few of them going into livestock practice?
This is a very challenging issue. The majority of current graduates from veterinary schools are female. And we also see that the majority of graduates are going into companion animal medicine rather than any roles involving livestock. So some of the challenges that large animal veterinarians face make it challenging to be a female in those roles, particularly some of the work-life balance issues. And when we start to think about the realities of having a family and managing those demands while also being able to meet some of the demands of the job, those are some of the issues that might deter females from going into livestock animal positions and also staying in those positions. But I think as we learn more about this and accept this reality, I think that we need to shift some of our expectations and practices and learn how we can practice smarter and more effectively so that we can have better work-life balance and to be able to support that lifestyle while also being able to maintain a healthy, functional practice.
I also think that one of the things that we're going to see is more and more women entering that and becoming a more predominant force in livestock veterinary medicine. When we look at our livestock veterinarians, they're also an aging population. And so I think some of that is reflective of the higher levels, higher proportion of men in the field 20 years ago. And so I do think we'll see that shift. And I personally know some vets who have built clinics around female veterinarians, and they work to provide things like childcare so that we can play this role as a veterinarian but not give up the other sides of our life and make sure that we have that work-life balance. And I think we'll see more and more of that innovation where women build what they need into their work life so that they can have that work-life balance.
So talking on a bit of a broader scale, many people who are here at the farm show or many people who are listening to our podcast might not be aware, but there is currently a shortage of large animal veterinarians in general, so especially in rural areas. So how can we encourage both men and women to consider getting into large animal care? And then, are there just any other ways that we need to be working to help remedy that problem?
I think this is another really complex issue. I think there's a huge number of factors that play a role in this. Part of it's economic. We need to be able to support a business. And so to the producers out there, one of the big things I always say is remember that your vet needs to have a good business. So we need to make sure we're utilizing those preventative medicine sides of veterinary medicine and not just the emergency response. What that allows is it allows for the vet to help you it can better your business, but it also allows them to maintain their business and to provide what they need. I think a big part of recruiting is to make sure we have communities that want to bring in that vet and that understand the importance of having that veterinarian in their community. And I think that is one of the keys, because we do have to have a viable business, and unfortunately the cost of becoming a veterinarian is continuing to rise. And so we need to be able to support not just living in that community, but also paying back our educational debt. So I think the economic challenges, I think, are a really big part of it. I think a lot of the other challenges we will overcome through innovation. Some of the things we talked about, women in the workforce in vet med, I think we can innovate and figure that out, but the economics are one of the big challenges. But it's complex, and there are many other aspects of it as well.
So this has been a very prominent topic. We are working through some of the tools that we have in the department to help address this here in Pennsylvania. One of the tools that we have to help recruit and retain veterinarians in rural practice is a program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And we have a role with that program. It's the Veterinary Medical Loan Repayment Program. By designating certain areas of the state or certain practice types to benefit from this loan forgiveness program. So it is a 3-year commitment, $75,000 in loan forgiveness for awardees, which can be life-changing. So that is one tool that we have to help recruit and retain veterinarians into some of our critical shortage areas. But that's not the only solution. This is a very complex issue. I think that trying to support communities on a more holistic way, all of the things that have come up with rural development and supporting these smaller communities are critical in this challenge as well, to support and retain veterinarians in those communities.
So currently there's a lot of news about avian influenza and how it's crossing the species barrier, including dairy cows. Is there anything dairy farmers should know about AI in dairy, and what about consumers?
Sure. So I'll start with the consumer issue, because this is fortunately an easy answer. Pasteurized milk is safe to drink, so any products that are available for human consumption we know are safe. This is not a health issue that we're concerned that is going to impact people from consuming products that are available. On the dairy farm side, this is currently a really big challenge that the dairy industry has never faced before. Pennsylvania is fortunately free of this disease, and we've worked really hard at the department in collaboration with some of our industry partners, Penn State Extension, various stakeholders in the dairy industry, to try to protect our state from this very devastating disease. The dairy industry is seeing some real challenges with this virus in other states, but there's the potential that a dairy farm that's impacted by this disease could be a risk to neighboring poultry farms. So that makes it a dual threat to our state industries, where we have a high density of both dairy and poultry farms here in Pennsylvania. So we're trying to take a very proactive stance through control measures, through testing, to protect our farms from this disease.
I really think the big message that we're trying to get out is biosecurity. We really need to make sure that we're prepared. And I think it's important, like Dr. Luley said, that to prepare so that we can protect our dairy farms, but also our neighbors. And so I think that's one of the big messages I'm trying to get out is that crossover between multiple aspects of agriculture is somewhat new in this disease, and I think that's been something that we need to really keep in mind.
So speaking about like animal health and safety, how at an event like the farm show that is so big with so many different animals, do you make sure all the animals stay safe and healthy?
Sure. So an event like this does present some unique challenges where we're bringing animals together from multiple farms from various parts of the state, and there are inherently some disease risks. But through things like requiring a veterinary exam prior to the animals coming here, various testing and some vaccination requirements and recommendations, we can help to minimize those risks. And then also some of the practices that are ongoing here, trying to adhere to best biosecurity practices in this environment can help to reduce that risk. So one of the pieces of information that we've been promoting, again, fortunately, no cases of influenza in dairy cattle in the state to date, but we have advocated for the dairy cattle that are here, best practices say don't share milking equipment between different farms, clean and disinfect after use, try to minimize some of the contact as much as possible. And that's not only important for avian influenza, but also for other routine diseases that we see like mastitis in dairy cattle. So those are some of the precautions that we can reasonably take, though there is some heightened risk here. I'll also add that we've got a team of our domestic animal health inspectors that are checking animals in and ensuring that they've met all the requirements before they enter the building. And again, that's part of our comprehensive program to help to minimize the risk that we have.
So what's something about your job that you wish more people outside of agriculture would understand?
So I'll start by saying that, like Dr. Springer, I didn't grow up with an agricultural background. So I've had the opportunity to get involved in agriculture starting in my undergraduate career, and I really enjoy what I do. Agriculture is really fun because we're taking a more holistic population approach. We're looking at a whole farm or a whole production system rather than just an individual animal. And that takes some critical thinking in different ways. So this job always presents some new challenges and helps to drive professional growth, and we learn new things every day. So it's an incredibly rewarding profession, and I really enjoy getting to be part of the agriculture community.
I too find a lot of value in our role beyond animal medicine. A lot of people look at a veterinarian and think that we are just animal doctors, and I think of understanding of the public health role of the veterinarian, and certainly both in small animal and large animal medicine, we play a role because we deal with a lot of diseases that do cross species, and so I think that that's a really important role. And then in agriculture, we add that food security side of it. You know, we are an important part of assuring food security in this country by preventing animal disease and maintaining animal health.
So here on the FarmHouse podcast, we always like to wrap up our interviews with one specific question that we will pose to both of you. What does being a woman in ag mean to you?
To me, it means an opportunity to give back. I did not grow up in agriculture. My second job out of vet school was an on-staff veterinarian for a single dairy. And it was the first time that I experienced watching a milk tanker drive down the road with milk that I helped make. That I helped make sure we had the cows that were healthy enough to make that milk. And to me, that's kind of a magical experience. Like, I can go in and I can fix the animals and I can take care of them. But when you see that food rolling down the road and you know that you're going to feed other people, to me, that's what being a woman in ag is all about.
So for me, being a woman in ag is something that I am very proud of. I think that what we bring as females to the profession is a varied perspective. I think that we can help to advocate for the animals, to show compassion to our livestock. But I'm very proud of what I do to be able to support farms and to be able to support livelihoods and the women who are critical in making those farms run. So I'm grateful to be part of that circle.
So that's all we have here today. Thank you so much to Dr. Luley and Dr. Springer for stopping by the FarmHouse here at the Farm Show. As always, it's wonderful getting a chance to talk with women who are out there making a difference powering agriculture.
And thank you to everyone in the audience here at the Pennsylvania Farm Show and to everyone listening at home, in your car, or in your barn. It's been a pleasure having you here with us in the FarmHouse. You can find our podcast, FarmHouse, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, generally anywhere that you would normally listen to podcasts. Until next time, I'm Candace.
I'm Stephanie.
And we'll talk to you later. I think Steph and I are both in agreement that this was an amazing opportunity to get to do our show live at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. It's such an event, such a historical event, and I'm not just talking about our show, but the farm show itself. And so it's just amazing to be a part of it.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, now that we're done and currently sitting in a hallway recording this, I think we're both very happy about having this opportunity. But I won't speak for Candace, but I was incredibly nervous going up on that stage. But I'm really glad we got to do this because it was a lot of fun. And yeah, the nerves have finally subsided now that we're done with it.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was like almost shaking as we were sitting there getting ready to make our way into the small arena. I had gotten a farm show milkshake earlier this morning as a little pre-treat for myself, and I'm really glad I did. So a little behind the scenes here, Steph and I, like she said, we're recording from a hallway because there's no quiet place at the farm show, as a farm show assistant, I guess, pointed out to us when we said that we were looking for a quiet space. So you may hear chairs and tables being moved around us. Anyway, Steph, what was a highlight for you from the interview we just did?
I thought it was really cool that neither Dr. Luley or Dr. Springer grew up on farms or grew up in agriculture. Of course, those of you who have listened to this podcast know that neither Candace or I did either. So it's always exciting to hear stories of women who are doing really cool things in ag who didn't grow up around ag. So yeah, that surprised me actually that neither of them had that experience going into it and now are doing so well in the field of agriculture and veterinary practice. So that was fascinating to me. Did you have any favorite tidbits you heard today?
I liked hearing how optimistic they both were about more women getting into livestock veterinary practice. It's nice to know that, maybe we can shift those numbers. And it's already exciting enough to know that women make up the majority of vets. So it's nice to know that maybe livestock will be the next arena that we conquer. So I think that wraps it up for us. I think we're both ready to go hit the food court and maybe get some cheese cubes, something good. So thank you all for listening. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. If you really like this episode, please consider leaving us a review.
If you have any questions about this episode or the podcast in general, you can email us at farmhouse@lancasterfarming.com.
You can also find us on social media at Lancaster Farming on most platforms.
Thank you again for listening and joining us here at the Farmhouse. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Candace.
And we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
This episode of The Farmhouse is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family.
It was written by Stephanie Spiker and Candace Worzbowski. It was produced by Eric Herlock. Music courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.